to the party, roll up to the lit. Roll up to the party, roll up to the party, roll up to the party, roll up to the.
Good morning, Celtic fans. Jeez, it's bright this morning, isn't it? Let's just double check the sound. Make sure the sound is okay. Yeah, that sounds perfect. We are live. Many people have got online so far. Right, let's jump over to the comment section. This morning, Celtic news. Obviously, yesterday, we were at the hand of God. Let's just pull me in some. It's roasting. Big Celtic news this morning is Brendan Rodgers is looking for a further 4 players before the end of the transfer window, which is absolutely fantastic news for us. We'll finally get some decent players in that can be first team ready. We're going to talk about all the players one player that has been linked this morning is a defender from Southampton. And he's been offered to Celtic already, seemingly. But Brendan Rodgers has said that he has got a list of players that he is looking at as he aims to ease the injury crisis at Celtic. Chris is first in the door, said Morning troops. Right. Let's first of all jump over to Chris Sutton. Chris Sutton, you know, he is one of us, but he does pull no punches. I've just read his thing this morning, and he says that Celtic need 5 transfers. We know there's one coming in today in the form of a winger, and Celtic it's been said that Brendan wants another 4 players in before the end of the window, after Brendan Rodgers, remember, admitted that the squad might be bigger, but the first team is weaker as it stands at the moment. The fact is that Chris laughs and says, and remember, the way that he sees it, Rangers are in fact worse this season. And as we remind ourselves this morning, hopefully Ross County can prove and do a double like Kilmarnock and do a little stint for us this afternoon and keep Rangers in at least 7th position, because if Ross County beat the Rangers this afternoon, well, in just a couple of hours' time, it would keep them in at least minimum of 7th place, which would be fantastic for us. So anyway, enough about them. Let's get back to the big man, Chris Sutton, and what he said about Celtic. There's lots of people in this morning. Let's say hello to some people first of all. 1888 CFC morning. James Dillon says morning. Wait a minute, I just noticed that I've not got banners up. Let's get some banners up. Back to the comments. Jason Lee says the voice is perfect. Morning Bass says John Sutherland. Liam Scales is about to become a hero. Liam Scales just become a hero. My team for today: Hart, a back 3 of Alistair Johnson for 60 minutes. That's an interesting team. Morning from Burnt Island says James. We spoke about the team last night, so I want to get on with the Celtic news. We're going to score 5 goals today, says Jason Lee. Oh, interesting one. And morning. Right, let's move on with the Celtic news this morning. Obviously, big Chris Sutton has been talking. He says it's absolutely unbelievable that they managed to get a half-decent result against PSV. He says, but talking about Celtic, he says, when you think back to last season, just think back to the 3rd of June when we played at Hampden for the Scottish Cup. The treble was wrapped up. Celtic were in prime position, he says, Chris Sutton. And I'm going to be seeing one of his old teammates today, hopefully. So hopefully I'll get a little word with him and we'll get it up on the channel also. It looked ominous for Beale and the Rangers, formerly known as Rangers. He said Celtic only needed about 3 or 4 players to make them better. Just now, Celtic are not just weaker, they're miles weaker, says Chris Sutton. Rodgers might need to sign 5 players this week. We know we've got one coming in the door today. All of them will have to be first team ready. It's an extraordinary situation to be in at this stage, when last season we were already up and running. I get the injury problems. They're serious damaging the team. Losing Cameron Carter-Vickers and Rio Hatate would hamper any side, and that's true. And I noticed that Ange Postecoglou was asked about Rio Hatate yesterday in his press conference, but it doesn't look like Celtic are going to sit around this week. It looks like we're going to get another couple of players in. He does go on about the fact that Starfelt was sold far too early in the window. Chris Sutton says, I can't get my head around the decision to sell Starfelt before the end of the window. Cameron Carter-Vickers wasn't 100% fit. He was coming back from a long injury. He should have been eased into the team. Starfelt should have been kept until this week and then sold within the last 4 days of the window. Everything was rosy on August 31st. You could have let him go then. I'm not having this nonsense that he left to go and see his girlfriend. He's a professional footballer under contract. He should only go to a club on the club's terms. Rocky was probably brought in as a replacement for him, thinking they know Celtic's model. But he says when you look at the Champions League, we all talked about improvement for the Champions League and replacing internationals with rookies, the likes of Yang, Odin, and players that have came in. You know, it's just unacceptable that Celtic have went down that route. Rodgers needs a physical presence in the team. And he says, no doubt we'll have to go about it this week. He says Lewis Palmer looks as if he's coming in today and he is the Jota replacement. He will probably be paraded at Celtic Park at half-time today, I'm thinking. So don't be surprised if that happens. If not, I'm pretty sure he'll get paraded at half-time today. I've just got a funny feeling about it. Haven't been told anything just yet, but I'll try and find out before the game today if it might happen. And we need players that we've been speaking about. Brendan Rodgers has said we need a left back, we need another centre back, and we need a goalkeeper. And he's also looking at another forward. So even though the fact that we're getting this winger in, it's going to put Dyson in the middle of the park. It's going to put Dyson in the middle of the park to help Kyogo. Because let's face it, Kyogo is just one injury away from the team absolutely being devastated. Absolutely devastated. The Starfelt was in love. Let's get back to some of the comments. Jason Lee says, Hart, Scales, Lager, Alistair Johnson, Taylor, Kalmack, O'Reilly, Turnbull, Maida, Abada, and Kyogo. Heading to paradise today. Perfect. Morning from Burnt Island. Let's get some more of the comments in. Morning all. Looking for players with signed. Celtic need to come first. Let's go. Yep. We deserve to dream. We deserve to dream. Deserve to dream of what in the Champions League. By the way, Big Chris Sutton fears us going into the Champions League, and so do we all. Because let's face it, as I see the team just now, we are there for a good tanking. Let's get back to Brendan Rodgers. Obviously, we reported last night that the deal for Parma is done. He is on his way to Glasgow. I do fully expect him to be paraded on the pitch today. You know, it is the fact that he is a left-wing player. Maida will then go, and it's got 3-5-2 written all over it for me. But will Brendan change his shapes like that? Probably not. So anyway, let's move on. Rodgers has said that he doesn't want to hesitate. He says he needs to bolster the back line with another central defender and a left back, which is interesting. He says Rodgers has evaluated the Celtic goalkeeper situation and is intent on recruiting another goalkeeper. So we're going to have 4 first-team goalkeepers, which is pretty unbelievable. What does it say for Benji? We've been talking about that as I think Benji should feel hard done by, but if we're bringing in a brand new goalkeeper, he has to be a goalkeeper that is up there and pushing hard for that first team place. Palmer's imminent signing, you know, the fact that we're looking to bring in another 4 before the window closes on Thursday night, is it? It closes. It's set to be a busy week at Celtic, that's for sure. And there will be players that go out. It looks like Rocco Vata. We did talk about the fact that Rocco Vata, he didn't sign a new contract at Celtic, and he wasn't looking like he was interested in signing a new contract. It looks like he might be sold to an Italian club. I would love to see a Wata get a start, says Jason Lee. Hail, Paul Baird. Naomi's in the house. Come on, you boys in green. We have a first-team goalkeeper. And even he's not good enough, says Mark Brown. You've got to give Hart a bit of due. You can't say someone with his experience is not good enough. He's good enough for the league, but he's not good enough for the Champions League. And we need a goalkeeper. Benji's not worth it. It's not worth the Celtic top, says Mark. This everyone has their opinion, and I think he's probably been a bit. I don't know why we brought him in the first place. I mean, he was at Dundee United, and you know they weren't that good. Let's be fair. A shot stopper. As a shot stopper, he's shocking. His position is so bad. Whose position is so bad? Benji's. Yeah, you're probably right. Right, let's get back to the defender that has been spoken about this morning. Celtic are looking at, they've been linked with Southampton defender Lianco. Brendan Rodgers needs a new defensive partner, and it looks like a bit of a tank. Looks a bit of a mean player. Never seen anything about him, but it has been, looks like he's out the team just now, as they have brought in a player that's actually taken over his position. Brendan Rodgers says, it says, with lengthy injury problems to Cameron Carter-Vickers, Rocky and Stephen Welsh, we now need a centre-back. A left-back and a goalkeeper are the priority positions that he is looking at this week. You know, bringing in the 26, he's a 26-year-old Brazilian. Oh, no, not a Brazilian defender. Oh, a Brazilian defender. Why does that just put the fear up me? Because the last time that we signed a Brazilian defender was Rafael Shadit. And it gives me the fear when we sign Brazilian defenders. Is this guy any good? I know a lot of you watch English Premiership games. Just as long as you don't go for Eric Dyer. I played and goal my whole life, and then in spare time, I watched the three. Right, get a new solid goalkeeper. I'd love Joe Hart and the staff. I've said that before, but I'm thinking that Joe Hart won't stay for a position like that at Celtic because his family's still down south, and I think that's one of the things that Celtic are looking ahead at. I think Joe Hart's told them, look, I came here for the 3-year contract. He's probably going to retire after the 3 years, and he's going back down south to stay with his family. His family doesn't see a life in Scotland as something that would be beneficial to them. Because let's face it, it's cold, damp, and wet in Scotland 99% of the year. It's apart for 2 weeks that you get in June, because it's always June that Scotland gets this summer. It's weird. We always get the best. It's probably the end of May, maybe, if you're lucky. But then there's a 2-week period in June that's fantastic. And then maybe again in September, you get a good week. Anyway. Right, no Brazilian defenders, says Graham Laidlaw. Morning from Colmornold, says Helen, a Brazilian defender. Yeah, we have been linked this morning with a Brazilian I can't even say it. From saying, I can't even say it, a Brazilian defender, 26-year-old Brazilian defender who has been frozen out the pictures with the Saints. Southampton giving us a defender. It's usually the other way around. We usually give Southampton players. So that tells me something about it, because usually it's us that are the feeder club for Southampton over the last 10 years. We've given them quite a lot of players. Whether Lanko is just another player that the Partick Club are expected to look at, it has been said that Rodgers has several irons in the fire when it comes to the defender's position. Another defender in soon is what we really need. Gustav and Liam Scales will be the partnership today. Lager and Scales. Lager and Liam. Lager and Liam in defence today. I should have worn my Lager Gustav t-shirt this morning. Instead, I've got another one of the 100% free t-shirts on. To be fair, we're getting a bit of sun now. Oh, well, that's even better. That's fantastic. No brilliant defenders. How many people have we got on the live so far? We've got 130 and we've got only 21 thumbs up. So make sure that you hammer the thumbs up. We now have 22 thumbs up. So whoever just done that, thank you. Morning Troops, Lanko is a solid player. He would be superb for us, says Lanky. That's good to get a bit of information, because, like I said, I don't watch too many English Premiership games. So that might change, because depends what happens this afternoon. That's all I'm going to say. I have high hopes for Scales and the beer guy, says Jason. The beer guy called Lager Gustav. Oh, I've just put that full screen. I didn't mean to do that. Let's get back over here. Right. The good side is, right, the good thing about today is we are still top of the league, looking down on the Rangers. It is all in our hands today to stay top of the league. I don't expect any kind of crazy upset today. I don't expect any crazy Celtic dropping points. Never mind dropping goals this afternoon. I think it'll be good to get the first team back. My only fear for a game at Celtic Park is the fans. The fans don't get 100% behind the team for the whole 90 minutes. And I know it's early season, and, you do... The fans seem to be It's good that you've got the boys at one end of the ground now that kind of makes a bit of noise at that end, and you've got the Green Brigade at the other. But there is sort of sections in between where you can hear the crisp packets rustle, and I just hope that nobody gets on the back of players today if they're having a bit of a slow start to the game. I fully expect Celtic to come out today and be like 100% and 100 miles an hour against this team, but they will sit back. St Johnson will sit back today. They've lost 4 goals already in the league so far. They will not want to hammer in from Celtic. People were saying 5-0 yesterday. People were saying 6-0. Somebody even said 7-0. I don't see us scoring that many goals today, purely for the fact that this team just doesn't seem to be clicking for me enough to give us a big scoreline like that. We need another striker. Yep, that can head the ball. With Obi now injured, it has been suggested that the manager does want another striker in the door. Um, Even though we're going to push Maida into the middle of the field because that's his preferred position, and that's what you really want. You want players that are playing in that preferred position. So yeah, let's get back to the league. We're sitting on 6 points. We've got a goal difference of 4. We've got a goal difference of 1 against. Um, we are top of the league. No one, if we play to our best today, we'll still be top of the league coming in the day. We'll be on 9 points, right? St Mirren are sitting in second position on 6 points. Hearts are on 4 points. Motherwell are on 4 points. Kilmarnock are on 4 points. The Rangers, Sevco are on 3 points. Ross County are also on 3 points. Will we go for a score draw today up in Ross County, or will Ross County do the damnedest and pull a little rabbit out the bag up in Dingwall? It is a fantastic trip, and the Sevconians will have had an early trip up to Sevcoland. Let's hope that they get punished for that trip, and they've got a long, sad trip home, listening to Celtic on the radio, on Radio Scotland, and bemoaning the fact that Celtic have now gone 2-0 up within the first half, and that just makes their even day worse. Would absolutely be fantastic for us. Just got to go out and put on a class performance today. That's all we're asking, says Lanky. This is so very true. Depends if the Huns get their usual penalty. Rangers! They probably will, but that's why I'm going for a score draw. Score draw and then just leave them on 4 points. The new signings come in and play up front. The new signing come in and play up front. Paul, he's not going to be playing today because he's only coming into the country today. He can play up front as well, but I think that by all accounts, we're going to play him out wide, so it puts Dyson in the middle because that's Dyson's favoured position. His favoured position is to the left-hand side of the pitch, although he can play in centre, he can play in the midfield and centre, and he can play up front also. It's good that we're going to have that option, and that's one thing that's good. I forgot this was starting at 9 this morning. Says Chilpil. I can see Palmer playing centre and mid. It won't be a winger, in my opinion. Beer money on County today. Beer money on County today. Right. That's it. Too much deadwood in the squad, says Tim. Yeah, I think today we just need a good performance with a few good goals to settle the nerves for us fans. Yes, this is true. Last week was worse than it should have been because it was a cup game. This is very true, Mark. It was because it was a cup game and it put us out of the cup. I think if it had been a league game, people would say that's 3 points dropped. They're the wrong way to go in the season. The fact that it was the cup game, and let's face it, it's the first time that Brendan Rodgers had been beaten in the cup in Scotland. But we can't talk about his previous time. We cannot talk about Brendan Rodgers' previous time at Lanky. I'm not even going to talk about that comment. Thank you. How you doing, pal? Hangover cure 5-0. It's ridiculously funny. Yep. Right, good result and then onwards to that place. I think if we get a good result, I'm going to go. I've still got my scoreline as 4-0. I am going to go 4-0 today. Nothing has changed my mind on that. I think that we will put on a good result at home, and I think that the fans will be right up for it the first 10, 20 minutes. We do need to make a statement today, and just Collins actually just said that exact same as me. We need to make a statement. It has to be a statement of intent today. Calmac will make sure that the players, and you've got to remember that there's a lot of these players won't be used to playing in front of 60,000 people, and it could give them that little bit of motivation just to go, holy moly, this is our fans. You know what I mean? That's why I want the fan base to just erupt when the team comes out today for the first 10 minutes of the game. Make that much noise that, you know, it just makes these players go, this is our club. This is our city. Glasgow is green and white. Anyway, three Premier players with a double barrel name: Carter Vickers, Mackay Stevens, and Tavernier penalty. Oh my goodness. Right. Can definitely fancy Inverness Cali Thistle taking something from the Zombies today. I reckon 3-0 for us. Uh, and still underperforming, says Chilpel. Do you think we'll still underperform today? I don't think so. I don't think so. I think it's going to be good. And I think if we do, I mean, Lanky was saying that this defender that we're looking at from Southampton, I mean, when you see him, he does look a bit of a tank. He looks like a bit of a mean player. It's probably something we need to. It is a player that we need in. We need someone in. It is a priority position. Brendan Rodgers has said we need a new left back. We need a goalkeeper. It's as simple as that. And that is the two positions that he wants to get in. Why have we waited so long in the window to get a goalkeeper in? You know, have they been sitting about waiting, trying to get one of the goalkeepers out the door, namely Benji? Benji's on a decent contract. He's not going to leave just for anything. But a 26-year-old Brazilian that's out the pitch in Southampton, it doesn't give me the confidence that I really need going into the last 4 days of the window. And especially with Brazilians, because we've never had that much success with Brazilian defenders at Celtic. Right, let's get back to some of the comments. I was looking at the Saints fans' reaction online at the news. They want him out the door. They said, good, says Mark. Well, that's fantastic. Then again, right, I'm going to play devil's advocate here because Southampton might not rate him, right? But Tottenham Hotspur didn't rate Cameron Carter Vickers. And neither did half a dozen clubs down in England that had him on loan before he came to Celtic, right? So he might not be good enough for them or what they presume is good enough, because let's face it, I mean, what has Southampton won in the last so many years? Not a lot. So the fact that they're saying that he's not good enough for him, Cameron Carter Vickers wasn't good enough for Spurs. He wasn't good enough for about 5 teams that Spurs loaned him out to over the years. And then in comes Celtic, and he's an absolute rock. He's an absolute rock. And you've got to remember, he was injured for the Champions League campaign last year. It's just so unfortunate that he's injured again this year as we go into the Champions League. I mean, it's devastating for him as a player. You want him to try and see that he's up for it and can prove himself at that highest level. We need guys who can play in the Champions League, says Chilpel. Hopefully Ross County are Barcelona this weekend. I wouldn't mind that at all. I've not seen him play, but that's what their fans are thinking of him. A lot called him a fist pumping waste of space. Fist pumping, there's a mosquito in here. It's that time of year. Anyway, right. So let's see if there's any other Celtic news this morning, because I wasn't going to hang about too much longer this morning. Signing of the Palma will increase our options up top. Celtic don't have the luxury. They need new faces now, says Chris Sutton. Celtic are also miles weaker, says Chris Sutton, and he's absolutely astonished, said Chris Sutton, that Carl Starfelt was allowed to walk out the door for love. Look, he's allowed to walk out the door for love so early in the window. Was that an error by Celtic? Why did they have to let him leave so early? Why did they have to let him leave so early? They could have kept him until the Vid Cup. They could have kept him to the cup game at least, so that at least they could have had Starfelt coming in, easing his way into the game, and then getting the two of them for the cup game, and then releasing them after the cup game. Celtic could have easily have done that, easily, to make sure that you had your best 2 defenders for the day of the cup game. But anyway, I can't find the chat on my laptop. That's what I see. The cup game may have been different with Starfelt. Yes, I think so. Totally think so. And I think we did sell him just that little bit too easy. Rodgers didn't fancy Starfelt. Well, I don't know. Why not? Why not? I don't really believe that. Don't believe that at all. I think it was Starfelt had been speaking about it all summer. The fact he wanted to leave the club. He's so good. Welcome, Lewis Palmer. Yes. Has it been made official yet? Let's jump up here and see. Have Celtic put anything out? Um, I don't think they will. I think they're going to keep it till they will keep it to half time. I mean, he's going to be a fantastic addition for us. And no, nothing yet. Celtic are all quiet on the front. And I'm hoping to get an interview with a legend, Celtic legend this afternoon. So keep an eye out for the channel for that. There is a Celtic player that is in town today, and hopefully I'll see him at the pub and we'll get a few words with him. So keep an eye out for the video after the game today, because he usually comes down to the pub that we watch the football at. That's all I'm saying. And whose place is Louis going to take? Maida, and Maida's going to get pushed into the middle of the park. That's what I think. I don't think that we're going to play him through the middle. He can play as a striker, and he can also play centre midfield. Um, so I don't. I think we're going to play him out. When's Steele going to turn out? I don't think Marco's ever going to play for Celtic at this rate. I think he's going to be the next James McCarthy. Seen Lewis Palmer highlights. He looks bad. Spooky's old number was 17. Lol. Yes. Whose other number was 17 on the wing? Paul Limerick's just in the house. Where you been, Paul? We're 26 minutes into the video. Live. Right, we'll do a quick recap for everyone that's just joined. Celtic have been linked with Southampton defender who is Brazilian, 26-year-old Brazilian defender. Brendan Rodgers says he wants at least 4 more players in next week. He says with O being sidelined, he wants to play Maeda in the central area. He wants to also bring in another forward, also to take the little Kyogo, pressure off Kyogo. But his ambitions don't end there this week. He is looking to bolster the back line with another central defender, another left back, and a goalkeeper, as well as a striker. So it'll be interesting to see who Celtic bring in this week, because let's face it, any player that comes in this week at Celtic must be ready to go right into that first team next weekend. And I'm going to put a bet on now that our little winger that's coming in this weekend, since they were after him, I think he'll score against them. I think he'll score. I think he'll score next week, and he'll score an absolute screamer. And they'll bemoan the fact that they never bought him. The last time that happened was the big man John Hartson, and it'll be interesting to see what one of his teammates. Baz, you need to stay longer for us regulars who are late, says Chilpill. All right, I'll stick around for a little bit longer. I was going to stick around for half an hour, but we'll stick around a little bit longer. Let's see what other news is coming out. There's not a lot of other news kind of out this morning, to be fair. Some people are saying that Kieran Tierney's Celtic dream will come to fruition at some point in his career. Look, let's move on for the Kieran Tierney thing, because I don't think he will end up at Celtic. If he's going to end up at Celtic, he's going to do what other players have done when it comes to the end of their career, and I don't think Celtic will go back to that. Agreed. There's a new Jota. The joy when he ripped Sev to shreds. Yes, I think he will rip them to shreds, and I think he will score next week, which will be fantastic. Right, let's get back to what else was Chris Sutton saying? He's basically saying that that other mob are absolutely Celtic don't need to convince against Ross County or Aberdeen, despite the scorelines. It's only a matter of time before they came up an organised team who could do a job on them. That's interesting that Chris said that, because we said that towards the end of last season. If you come up against the Weller, people knew how we played last season. It was probably good that we had a change of manager this season, purely for the fact that our team was a bit stagnant towards the end. Keep missing the lives, says Paul Emery. Apparently scores. Give Lager top time to develop. I think Lager will develop into a decent player, and then that's why we've got his T-shirts made. And Lager Gustav. I think Lager will come into a good game, but they are younger players. You know what I mean? Like, right, let's get back to what Chris Sutton said. Big Chris Sutton says that it was only a matter of time before a well-organised team could do a job on Celtic. Sitting back, being solid and us not being able to have a playmaker that can break them down. You can't afford to not be bang on from the start. It says they have now paid the price by going out of the cup so early in the season. It's not just clicking at Celtic right now. Even established players are not performing to their usual levels. That is very true. You know, people are saying that. I mean, you look at it. People are being given Kalmack stick because he's not been performing to his highest level. Is he carrying the can? Is he sort of? I don't know. Look at Matt O'Reilly. Will there be another bid coming in for Matt O'Reilly? Kyogo's been nowhere near his best so far. The new signings that have come into the team are not performing yet. The Champions League is just a matter of weeks away, says Chris Sutton. I fear for Celtic right now. In fact, I fear for Celtic and the Sevco in the Champions League. He says somehow if they make it past PSV, he says they're going to get an absolute tanking. He says the likes of Man City would give Sevco an absolute doing. It says, but Celtic at the end of the day, the squad is still weaker than last term. The squad is weaker as far as he's concerned. Chris Sutton says, come the end of the window, Celtic fans will have the right to ask the same question. How did we get here? How did we turn out to be so bad this transfer window? I'm not even going to say that either, Chilpil. I'm going to say that live on here. Right, Lanky says, the thing is, when Andrew's here, we had no other plans. Now Brendan is here, we'll have a different setup. It will take time for our players to adjust. Yes, and that's true. Brendan isn't going to be like Ange. Ange played one way and that was it. Played one way and that was it. People were starting to figure it out against us and figure out a way to combat that. You know, and Chris Sutton was right. We seen it at the end of the last season. The fact that we got beat a couple of times towards the end of the season, we really need to bring in somebody with a bit of height. We need to bring in another defender with a bit of muscle that can bully people at the back. Because let's face it, little Kyogo's getting bullied up front by big defenders. You know, big defenders are pushing them off the ball. You know, if they've seen him make a run, they're dropping their shoulders so that he runs into them. That's why Brendan's bringing them back and saying, right, if they're hitting you right on the when you're right up against them, come back a bit into the midfield, mix it up a bit so that the defenders are then going, right, who's actually going to make the run? Because that's what Brendan's basically trying to do. And I think if you put Dyson in the middle of the park, right, with his pace and Kyogo, I think that could really mix it up because then if you have Kyogo dropping back a bit, and then you've got Dyson running through the middle as well, with the pace that Dyson's got, you can get past defenders like that, and that is what's going to be a bit more positive about us going forward this campaign. I'm the only positive fan. Too many of our supporters are kicking themselves. Says Lanky. We can't combine a bit of Brendan and Ange. Can we not combine a bit of Brendan Ball and Ange Ball somehow? I think that the team behind Brendan will be talking to him about that, about the way that we're playing. Because when you look at it at Kilmarnock last week, the one guy that does look at a lot of the stats stuff behind the way that we play, Gavin Strachan, he had his head in his hands last week, which was a bit worrying because even he must have been going. So to me, it says that the players probably weren't doing their job the way they were meant to be playing. Because maybe the players not understanding the system that they're trying to get them to play. Managers have egos and they all run their own systems. Yeah, but the thing about Brendan is he runs his own system, but he also likes to change it up a bit. And I think that's what's going to be branch ball. Don't even call it that. Don't even call it. Oh no, we stop that right there. I'm not worried about Brendan. He knows exactly what he's doing. Boring ball is chill pill. Right. If his boring ball is the big Brazilian, 26-year-old Brazilian defender, the type of player we need. We do need players in. And maybe if he shaves his head and with all those tattoos on his neck and arms, maybe if he shaves his head, he can look a bit more menacing. We missed somebody that's menacing in the middle of the field with the shaved head. We need a Bruni type person back. Keep the faith. Keep the faith with you, Lanky, says Paul Baird. Right, let's check how many thumbs up we have on the video. Sent it 61 thumbs up with 237 people online. Come on, get the thumbs up because there's not a chance I'm sticking around for an hour this morning. Got far too much to do this morning. Right. No, I'm not even going to say that, Slave. I'm not even going to say that. Right, let's have a quick recap of the news. Chris Sutton is absolutely astonished the way that the transfer window has went. He's astonished the fact that we allowed Carl Starfelt to leave so early in the window. He's astonished at the fact that we haven't brought in players quicker, that we're first team ready. Brendan Rodgers has said that we are looking for central defender, a left back, and he wants a new goalkeeper in before the end of the window, as well as a striker. So that's the four players that he's looking to get in next week: goalkeeper, left back. Um, oh, wait a minute. Goalkeeper, left back, striker, and then the winger that we're bringing in. So that's probably the four players that he wants in. Is Lianco the defender to bring in? Southampton fans said, take him, he's absolute garbage. But they also, Spurs used to say that about Cameron Carter Vickers, but they had something in it, because let's face it, as we sit this morning, we are sitting at the top of the table, top of the league, looking down on the Rangers. Last couple of comments. If you didn't see us in the 1990s, it was a lot worse compared to nowadays. Celtic till I die, win, lose or draw. That's right. If you've never seen Celtic play in the 90s, you've missed an absolute trick, because even this team today would make the Celtic team in the 90s look like, this team is just so much better than the Celtic team in the 90s. And I think that's what I have to remember, how far we have came. So, on that note, I'm going to wind the video up. It's been absolutely fantastic having you this morning. There has been some news. There's not been any sort of big breaking news this morning, which has been unfortunate, but it is what it is. So have a fantastic day, Celtic fans. Make sure that you watch the video. I might do a live just when the team is announced. If I'm at the pub early enough, I will do a live from the pub and we'll talk about the team as it has been released. And it'll be interesting to see the team that's come out and watch the video after the game, because I'm hoping to try and get a word or two with an ex-Celtic legend. So on that note, have a fantastic day, Celtic fans all around the world.
Lit. Roll up to the